Today I'm joined by Dr. Bill Ketelby, who's the CEO from Actinogen Medical. Actinogen Medical is doing some very interesting work in Alzheimer's disease, and it's the first time we've had a chance to introduce Bill to the Morgans Network. So welcome, Bill.
Thank you.
And
Thanks,
we might
Scott.
just start by talking a little bit more about Actinogen, exactly what the business is doing.
Sure. So Actinogen about 5 years ago licensed in a whole family of drugs from Edinburgh University. These drugs are centrally active cortisol inhibitors, so they inhibit the production of cortisol in the brain. The principle behind them, the hypothesis behind them, is that raised cortisol, persistently raised cortisol, is associated with the development and progression of Alzheimer's disease and more broadly cognitive impairment across the board. So we licensed these drugs in, continued the development, and importantly initiated a phase 2 major international phase 2 study in mid-17, and in fact we have just about completed that study with the results very imminent.
Great, okay. Very exciting for the company, but let's talk a little bit more about Alzheimer's disease. We've heard a lot about it. What does it mean to you, and how do you characterize the market?
Yeah, the market is huge. It's simple. It is absolutely massive and growing. So the number of Alzheimer's patients globally is about 50 million. In Australia, over 400,000, doubling every 20 years, and is a reflection of the aging population. The biggest risk for the development of Alzheimer's is age. Now, to put it in context, it is the leading cause of death in Australian women. So it's not a cardiovascular disease or cancers that people might perceive. It's actually Alzheimer's disease. And in men, it's only secondary to cardiovascular disease. Soon enough, the leading cause of death, the major cause of death in Australians and pretty much the Western world is going to be Alzheimer's disease, reflecting the size of the problem. On top of that, the available therapies are marginal, provide marginal benefit at best. So there's a huge unmet medical need and obviously a huge and growing market.
Okay. You just mentioned it's almost ready to read out. So how many patients in it, and what sort of patients have gone through it, and what are the endpoints that we're looking for?
So we started this in mid-17. 186 patients have been recruited, which is actually over-recruitment. We oversubscribed, reflecting the eagerness for patients to participate. It's an oral tablet. 12 weeks of treatment. We ran the study in 25 research sites in Australia, the UK and the USA. So 3 tough regulatory environments, but uniform health, quality health systems, and reflecting the quality of the data that we were after achieving. The last patient was enrolled end of November. The last patient will come off in March, so we're just about there at the point of doing the final data collation before the analysis. The endpoints are all the standard endpoints you would expect in any Alzheimer's trial. They're cognitive endpoints, validated, used, recognized by regulatory authorities around the world. We've got 7 endpoints. So the results will reflect an array of responses in these 7 endpoints, recognizing that each of these 7 endpoints have got a number of domains within them. So it's not a single endpoint with a binary yes/no at the end. This is an array of results, and really what needs to happen when they read out is that our advisory board will work with us to interpret what do these results mean and use that information along with some other studies that we have ongoing to define the optimum way forward for our drug, and that will all happen from June onwards. So results are going to read out by June, and the second half of this year we'll be actively working on the further development of our drug going forward.
Great. Okay. Well, it's certainly a very exciting time for the company. What else is in the portfolio?
Okay, so the thing about our drug, in fact, the thing about the mechanism of action of our drug, which is really quite intriguing, our drug works through inhibiting a specific enzyme, the 11-beta-HSD1 enzyme, that's present in all cells in the body, but is particularly concentrated in areas of the brain most affected by Alzheimer's disease. The opportunity, and our drug inhibits that enzyme and brings down cortisol. The opportunity that this general approach, that our general mechanism of action that our drug has, the opportunity it presents goes beyond just Alzheimer's disease. In fact, it could be a general cognitive enhancer in patients with high cortisol, which goes across a range of diseases, depression, schizophrenia, bipolar, Parkinson's disease, diabetes. A number of diseases have got raised cortisol. So the question is, do they have cognitive impairment? Do they have a higher propensity to Alzheimer's disease? The answer is yes. So a second indication that we want to initiate will be announced very soon, and it could well be something like cognitive impairment in the mood disorder spectrum of diseases, depression, bipolar, schizophrenia. Again, very, very substantial markets, and markets without much in the way of therapy to treat these patients with cognitive impairment.
Great. Well, certainly a very exciting time for the company. We might leave the discussion there, but thank you very much for joining us. I've been joined by Dr. Bill Ketelbey, who's the CEO from Actinogen Medical.